Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. I hope you are doing good and you're ready for the current lecture. Well, in the current session, I am going to talk about some significant features of the pronunciation of Old English. I hope after completing this session, you would be able to understand the prominent features of the pronunciation of Old English with particular focus on the consonants. Well, my dear students, the vowel sounds of English language have changed and evolved over the times from Old English to the modern times. However, that is not all about the development of Old English to modern English language. When we look at the history of English language, we can see that there were significant changes with reference to the consonant sounds as well. And here I would focus on them. Old English not only differed from the modern English in terms of the vowel sounds and their representation, but also it differed in terms of consonant sounds and their representation. Turning to the consonants, something very significant and important that I would like to share is the use of double consonants that was different from the one we use today. In modern English spelling, we use double consonant symbols in two-syllable words to show that the preceding vowel is short. Here I have an example for you. If you look at your screen, you can notice these two words, written and copper. Notice the use of consonants double T, double P. Notice the representation through letters, that is two T's and two P's. Now think of their pronunciation. Written. When this vowel sound is E. This is short. What happens? Two consonant letters are used. Same is the case with copper, O, instead of O. So, O, what happens? Two consonant letters are used for that. But a single consonant symbol is used if the preceding vowel is long or is a diphthong. Notice these two words again, coping and writer. I would first discuss this word, writer. Writer, a-iter, I. There are two vowel sounds here that are produced with this one letter representation. If you notice the representation, this is through only one sound, vowel sound, that is represented as I letter, but the sounds is what I said, diphthong. So I, when a diphthong is used, what happens? The consonant that comes after that is a singular. Compare it with the previous slide where I compared the same words, but the word there was written. E sound, double T. Writer, I, diphthong, this would be followed by a single T. Notice this. Coping, coping, oping. Compare it with the previous example of copper, O. Here it is coping, O, longer sound, O. It is producing a longer sound. What happens after that? The consonant that I have pointed out here, you would see it is represented with a letter that is single. We do not have double P here as compared to the word copper, where we had a shorter vowel. I hope you are clear about this idea. So in Old English, this was not so. The fact that a single consonant symbol is used tells us nothing about the length of the preceding vowel. So if we make a comparison, what we would realize is that in modern English, from the spellings, we can understand what the pronunciation can be. If a longer vowel, okay, the double consonants that follow it would tell us this is a longer sound. If not the double ones, we can decide, well, a single one is a longer sound, the double one would have a shorter sound. But this was not the case with Old English. The Old English words for written and copper are again I'm pointing it out for you, written and copper. This is how they were. You notice that there is a single T, and you also notice that there is a single P. So these had short vowels, and they were probably pronounced as written and copper as we pronounce them, but the writing style was different with reference to the use of consonants. However, we do find Old English spellings with double consonants, like, notice this example, he got. Notice this word, a very interesting word. This is the modern English word cup. We have single P consonant nowadays, but in the Old English, double P you can notice. In such words, the double consonant symbol indicates that the consonant was in fact pronounced double or long. Cup. P is pronounced with stress and doubled. So, the consonant was in fact pronounced double or long, rather as it happens now in modern Italian or modern Swedish. But English has lost this particular feature over the years. My dear students, Old English made use of two characters to represent the sound of this and this. Notice this is called thorn and this is called it. These. Notice in the words, notice this word. This is the modern pronunciation, with. With. This particular sign, notice it here. Notice it here. This was used for the sound the, with, or then, which now we do not employ anymore in modern English. Likewise, Old English represented the sound of sh with, again I am encircling this for you, with S and C. Sound sh was represented with the letters S and C. As, for example, this is an Old English word. Notice the spellings, whereas these are the modern spellings, sheep. So it was pronounced sheep, but it was written like this. Or shooten, this SC again, which is actually the modern English word shoot. And the sound of K was represented by C. As in, notice the English word, modern English word kin. How it was represented in letters in Old English? This way. Notice this choice of letter. Or naked, this again. So these were all the words that were used for the affricate, now spelled CH, as in the modern word speech. So you can notice how Old English was particularly different in terms of these letters and their use and the sounds related to them as compared to the modern English. I would say that English language has undergone a lot of change, and this is not unusual. This is what happens to all the languages. They evolve and they change over the times. However, I would say that it is really very difficult for a reader or for a student to read some text written in Old English without special help, because A, it is difficult to understand what are the graphic representations, and B, it is even more difficult to understand these graphic representations or these letters stand for which sounds. In fact, I would say the Old English language looks stranger than French to us. In general, the differences that one can notice between Old English and modern English spelling and pronunciation, the lexicon and the grammar, are all the signs of how language has evolved over the centuries and how it has abandoned certain practices, both of pronunciation and of the representation of those pronunciations over the times.